The branch of the Federal Bureau of Investigation working with Ringo Starr is psychotic and criminally insane. There's absolutely no reasoning with them, and there has never been any point in trying. It's like talking to a ravaged psychotic who goes berserk. The more sense you make, the crazier they become. It's an evil, pretentious, horrible grip they have over anti inhuman psychology. So it's largely pointless to explain how they subscribe to themselves. I saw a very wonderful clip of John Kirby becoming emotional about the absolute unthinkable acts of inhumanity being visited here in the 21st century on a civilized group of people like the Ukraine. The Russian troops don't even want to do it, and yet they're being cattle prodded into their own demise. And it's all brokered by this horrible idea that Ringo Starr has some kind of holy projection powers into the nature of reality. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if his underling, his Grima Wormtongue, his Joseph Goebbels, penis Gabriel, believes that Putin is an experience park and a nightmare go round ride. But I will nevertheless explain their devoid psychology and what sort of conclusions can be reached from plumbing the depths of their absurd anti wisdom. It begins with a film called Magical Mystery Tour, which set the drug craze for the 60s, in which the Beatles dressed up as wizards in a chemistry set, brewing foul potents that were supposed to liberate you with hallucinations. Meanwhile, back at the police state, they were working out with Wattenmaker from Attica State Prison Psychiatry and Robert Fripp from King Crimson, a partnership that should be in the Columbia Encyclopedia as one of the most noxious partnerships in human history. They were setting up a war college, linguistic anthropology dig. They said things like dance, chants, slide, ride, harsh, harsh. And they created a lampoon of broken window psychology. What that is a theory that if you allow one misstep, the slightest misstep, if you draw a line in the sand and so much as a grain whispers over, you should use overwhelming force or you will set in motion the slide into decadence that unseams all of civilization, or something like that. You know, it's the idea that one small abridgment equals all huge abridgments. That's it's a threshold, yeah, stepping stone to far graver, worse things. Intolerance only, zero tolerance only works. And as a lampoon of this, they came up with the idea that virginity proves rape. And when they, as a child, it created what they considered to be a good climate for drug use in places like Pittsburgh. They had an elder come on to me when I was about 10. His name was Karsh, and he made sure that I smelled marijuana and took a hit. So the Karsh was with this road show of escalation, and they kidnapped me in a stolen car and made clear that they would kill me if I breathed a word of it to anybody. They said so again and again and again and again. So they terrorized me over the smallest abridgment, and then they inundated me with horrible trafficking. They they beat me to subconsciousness. Well, I couldn't resist anything they said. They used the neuroplasm. And I didn't even have language skills. I was only 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, and it got worse and worse and worse the older I got, more pummeling. And when they gave me the nerve agent to try to recover, I went to a sense-around film of the Towering Inferno, which brings me to a point I want to make about the Kennedy assassination, is that the linguistic anthropology of Karsh, Harsh, and all that was in Dealey Plaza. You had Hertz above Dealey Plaza, and Payne had the rifle. Payne Hertz is part of the sense around of the totality of the Swami Nostra. So we really have to, I think, question whether or not it's reasonable to indulge black rage psychology at our universities, because what we end up with is schizoid men pleading African ancestors and taking out children who are white or something and saying, we're going to, following Frank Herbert, who was white, storyline, the soul catcher, we're going to give him syphilis to purge the Swami Nostra, of the voodoo, of the Tuskegee syphilis experiments. And they're doing it with and on behalf of the people who were behind the syphilis experiments, literally. The University of Pittsburgh Black Studies program was harboring and hobnobbing with people who were literally working on the Guatemala syphilis experiments. And then they throw up their hands, oh, I was shocked to find out this was going on when they were going along with those kinds of things all along, full knowingly. And they spin it as though it's some kind of revenge. It's not revenge. It's a sickening proclivity in the University of Pittsburgh's administrative mindset. And there's nothing you can do to argue that this idea that they made clear to me that my life depended on going along with what the orders were calling a good drug climate. But it had nothing to do with me. I was trying to get away from them all the time. You think I hitchhiked from Pittsburgh to St. Louis for my health? I was in despair. So, it's criminally insane. I was just a child. You're dealing with a child who was brutally attacked when he was 12 years old, brutally tortured before he had linguistic skills. Meanwhile, I was still prepubescent. They were rubbing those horrible soldiers of fortune's images in my face and saying things of such depravity that it's unimaginable. And there was all clocked in names like Donald, Ronnie, and Casper. And it was linguistic anthropology. It was an outrageous decision that was made by administrators in places like Attica State Prison, along with Penis Gabriel and Robert Fripp at King Crimson, working in tandem with John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Noxious, terrible ideas that they say I must subscribe to because the girls at Lecce need help. How are they going to get help when you subscribe to this evil idiocy? It doesn't make any sense at all. Yet in their minds, it's a lasso that they throw around the neck of what they say is the bad guy, the person who they did it to, who's no good. He has to go. He thinks he's significant when he's not significant, and so on and so forth. I mean, you get the picture. I mean, point him in the mouth, that sort of thing. And they do it. I mean, I'm not here on the West Coast, and it's just unbelievable. The sociopaths in sociology at UW are absolutely unbelievable. The only rivals they have are at the University of Pittsburgh and Carnegie Mellon. It's like a social movement of some sort of horrible disgrace. And their excuses are things that they have worked out in their minds as subservience to the great ogre in the sky, Ringo Starr, who has the swami nose. He can see all, he can tell all. He voids the evidence. The fact that I was blinded, that there was a neuroplasm, that it was slaughtering blows to the head, that I was in trauma, that I was biting my fingernails bloody, that I was hiding in a towel closet, that we had to move to get away from them. And I hitchhike from Pittsburgh to St. Louis. He rubs it out, rubs it out. It doesn't exist. None of that. That I knew nothing whatsoever about the plan involving John. That's how I'm going to put it. And they said, not, I knew nothing about it. No, he rubs it out. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. You have to go along with my notion that a good drug climate is a right brew. And you can't reason with him. He's a cobra snapping at people, and there's no point, in drawing any conclusion other than that he's a partner of Putin because they're operating on identical mindsets, attacking innocent people, and that's all there is to it. And it's pointless to discuss it with them because they'll never admit it. What the Green Party did to me here when I came out here portended the eco-terrorism of COVID-19 and the invasion of the Ukraine, and they will never admit it. They have scrubbed the record. They have nothing to do with the truth. They don't care anything about the historic record, the scientific evidence, the age issue. None of that matters. They made a lampoon of broken windows theory, and they wanted to be the overriding doctrine because of the Swaminosa stuff. And then they say I'm smart; they can butter their own toast and stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And the idea that they should have escalation dominance over our sympathies as a political people speaks volumes about why there's such a loss of morale and meaning that people are leaving their jobs wholesale and walking away from all of the structural values that existed to hold our society together. And the blame should be put squarely on the shoulders of Ringo Starr. He is a ridiculously sickening moral imposter who has nothing to say to anybody. I have no idea why he has domination over my personal affairs. Absolutely none. He has lied about every single detail about what happened. Every single detail about what happened to me. He has lied, and he has lied again. And when he can't, he is so exhausted from his lies, he falls asleep on the floor and wakes up lying some more.